Blog Talk Radio, the world's largest online radio network.
Hello and welcome, and it is my pleasure to host this weekly radio show brought to you by Spirit Seeker Magazine. And I just want to mention, I'm going to do all the commercials as I do front end so that we can really enjoy our interview tonight. Spirit Seeker Magazine is celebrating its 15th anniversary. Hard to believe it's been 15 years. And we started in St. Louis, migrated to Kansas City, expanded to Columbia, Missouri, which is in between the two sister cities. And then most recently, 14 months ago, we expanded totally into Chicago. We had been a supporter of several conferences in Chicago over the years, but we've been there 14 months, and I just really want to thank all of the advertisers who support Spirit Seeker Magazine to make it possible for our monthly loyal readers. The last year and a half of magazines are archived at spiritseeker.com. You can also send us an email to info@spiritseeker.com and ask to be put on our sacrosanct, and I do mean sacrosanct. Everybody wants to buy our list, and we just won't do it. If you send me an email saying, please add me to your email list, you'll be notified of the weekly radio shows. You'll be notified of Midwest and national Mind, Body, Spirit events, and we will also send you a link to the online magazine each month. The print magazine, as I told you, is in the Midwest, but our online magazine has continued to be larger and grow. So we have online readers nationwide, and the articles are always pertinent to anyone, anywhere, other than, the events. So this month, in the September issue, there's a wonderful article, 3 Keys to Navigating Life Storms, and I interviewed Dr. Terry Gordon last week. Fascinating interview. There's Beyond Sugar Shock, which really talks about the impact that sugar has on the body, which we all hear about it, but when you really read this excerpt, you will think twice about everything that has sugar that you're eating, and especially what we're feeding our children, and they're our future. How acupuncture can help when other treatments fail. Acupuncture works with the chi in the body. We'll be hearing a lot about that tonight. We also have an excerpt from The Promise of Love, Sex, and Intimacy, and Sync Your Chi, which is one of our articles by Sean Tucker, who has spearheaded connecting the Tai Chi and Qigong communities of St. Louis and then also in the Midwest, which leads us into our guest. Tonight I am interviewing and very happy to have Sifu Meehan as my guest this evening. I've heard about him for years. Our paths crossed, and we did not meet until right before Spirit Seeker's August Expo, or actually, yes, August Expo. I can't even remember, or July 15th Expo. That's how fast time is going these days. At any rate, when I met Justin Meehan, he was everything and more that I had heard about, and I was always like, hearing about Sifu Justin, I need to check with him before the articles. I need to check with him that this is okay, and not in a controlling way, but in an honoring way. And I had an opportunity to go on Channel 5 right before the expo, and here he was, right there, with one of his students. So just a little bit about Sifu Justin Meehan. He is one of the early pioneers of Tai Chi and Qigong, which, he studied for over 45 years. Now, that tells you energetically who this person is. 45 years ago, most of us couldn't even pronounce Reiki, Tai Chi, Qigong. We didn't know what all this was. And here we are with a master. He has studied with some of the world's most famous masters. He has that in his lineage that he offers his students that we will be hearing about tonight. He specializes in, if I am not saying this right, we'll hear about it later, hunyuan form of Tai Chi, which combines Chen Tai Chi with Taoist Qigong or Chinese yoga and traditional Chinese medical practices as well as meditation. So this is very encompassing. His students include such well-respected teachers in the St. Louis area as Sis Hager. If you're from St. Louis, you've heard about her for years. Herb Perron and Sean Tucker of the Brentwood Center for Health. He and some of his former students recently returned after visiting with his teachers, Grand Master Feng in China and Master Yang or Chang, we'll hear Yang in San Francisco. And East Coast, West Coast, mainly West Coast, has always had a high, Chinatown, the largest outside of China, is in the U.S. in San Francisco, and it didn't surprise me that a lot of our Qigong leaders and Feng Shui specialists have all migrated to the West Coast. And even though Justin Meehan is no longer publicly teaching, he hopes to encourage the study of Tai Chi for both self-healing and of self and others, and as a journey of self-discovery. He has devoted this evening, and to all of our listeners and to all of the people that know about my cat, to the healing of my cat. And he started sending long-distance healing last night as soon as he heard about it, and sent me a very kind email, which brought tears to my eye, and the cat is here to talk about it. So there we go. What a long, I know that there's a lot of...
Hey, Cynde. Cynde.
Yes. Yes.
Two things. One, hi, Jill. That's the cat's name. I'm writing a checkout. I don't want to advertise. I want to make sure I never miss a single issue. You have brought so many people together, not just in the Midwest, but everywhere. So who would give me a mailing address so I can send my token of appreciation to Spirit Seeker?
I will do that. And,
give it now so everybody else can send in their check.
Oh, okay. So in case any of you, not in case, I invite anyone who would like to make a contribution to Spirit Seeker. You can send a check to 1320 Salt Box Drive, which is like salt and pepper, Salt Box Drive, and that's Chesterfield, Missouri, 63017. Our phone number, in case anyone wants to call, is 636-530-7579.
Thank you so much. And I told you I would do this under one condition, and that would be that I would have the opportunity to turn the tables and interview you on the 15th year anniversary and plumb all the depths of the interesting, wonderful, magical studies and people that you have promoted so selflessly. So I am asking for your commitment to allow me to interview you on our October 15th year anniversary coming up on your blog show.
Okay, and we will do it. It's always interesting to be to be on the other end.
But I want Jelly there too.
Well, she's a Russian blue, and she has a very loud voice, and I would love to hear that loud voice again. So she's just okay. So there we are. But the fact that she's here and we're talking about it.
I'm so happy. I really am. I really can't tell you how happy I am.
Okay. All right. So,
what do you want to talk about?
Kind sir, I'll tell you what I want to talk about. How in the world, 45 years ago, because I know you're a very busy man. You've got a very full life. I don't know a lot, but I'm intuitive. What drew you 45 years ago to this energy healing?
It didn't start out like that, Cynde. I went to an all-boys Catholic school, and we fought every single day, and we didn't fight each other. We fought other people. And I only got into martial arts just to be a better fighter. But over the course of studies, I found, and particularly with Taiji, that I really was released from whatever inner turmoil I had that made me feel that fighting was important to my own self-development. And in meeting great masters and traveling to China and having lots and lots of adventures, I found that the more exciting path is the spiritual path. And the Tai Chi opened all that up for me. Back then, there wasn't much Qigong in 1967. As a matter of fact, you really couldn't study the Chinese martial arts unless you live in New York or California. And as you point out today, San Francisco is kind of like Chinese heaven. I don't think you can get a driver's license if you can't do Tai Chi out there. But the other thing was, as a person begins their own inner exploration and finds connection with that which is the animating source of all creation, it really does change the way you look at things and so forth. And instead of being a fighter, I would like to hopefully feel that if I wasn't a healer, at least I was somebody who encouraged healing as opposed to discouraged it. And with Taiji in particular, and especially this system, the hunyuan system, it's amazing how much there's been studies showing what wonderful, it's at the point now where I mean, I'm not even fazed by it. Anytime I teach, somebody tells me, oh, I've had this or I've had that, and it's just not there anymore. I'm just used to it because I've been teaching for, a really long time. I've taught thousands of people. Tai Chi is a wonderful resource for humanity. The hunyuan system attempts to include not just Tai Chi, but all of the forerunner ingredients in Tai Chi, traditional Chinese medicine, Taoist theory and yoga practices, meditation, traditional Chinese philosophy, especially Taoism, Confucianism, and aspects of Buddhism. And it's just been a wonderful journey, and it's allowed me to experience things that I never thought I would ever experience, and travel places I never thought I would ever have the opportunity to see. And I hope that people who are frustrated with their own circumstances will at least consider maybe Tai Chi and Qigong, especially them together. Tai Chi, there's a sense of balance and groundedness and practicality that I don't always see in people who only teach Qigong. Qigong is very, very deep. It can be, most people today just practice it for stress reduction and the consequent benefits of stress reduction, lower blood pressure, better sleeping, feeling better overall. But there's also a very deep spiritual aspect to it, and I don't want to go too deeply into that because I know everybody has their own spiritual paths and journeys, and I don't say one is better than the other, but I think as an adjunct, what people are really seeking in their spirituality is the connection with the One, and I think that is possible, not exclusively, but at least in my life I've found that you can achieve a kind of ecstasy and awakening that hopefully should be part of everybody's life before they check out. But if not, it'll come later.
Well, and I think that's the opening that is present with so many people saying there has to be more than taking pills for stress reduction,
right.
Or and I think when we look back to first learning about biofeedback and finding complementary, I prefer complementary versus alternative because
yes.
But I honor both systems. My path started as a nurse and, with a healthcare management degree. And, I managed all kinds of healthcare centers over the year and from psychiatry to chiropractic and on. And what I saw over and over again is treating the symptoms it's not the full picture.
No.
And so what you're talking about with Qigong or Tai Chi, and if you have arthritis, Tai Chi and it can be done. Am I right in the water? Some movement, some people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the arthritis. You can't name a condition that there hasn't been some positive study. Right now, Cynde, as you know, and I like the fact that you talk about complementary. There's a lot of interest, especially the National Institute of Health, in study. They've reached the same point that you have, that there sometimes is something lacking with just having a guy in a white coat give you a pill. Not that doesn't help. It's not often you see, like in an outbreak of the Ebola virus, they call the Qigong Association. And yet, I often find that Qigong practiced along with traditional medicine can really help because it brings into play the person's own self-healing powers. And I really feel that there's been some wonderful study, especially with Dr. Yang, who is also a hunyuan Qigong Tai Chi teacher, and wrote the book Taiji Chuan, The Art of Self-Nurturing, The Science of Power, a wonderful book regardless of style. As a matter of fact, there's very little mention of any style.
Okay,
but Tai Chi and Qigong should be something that belong to the people and that the people can access and benefit from. It's not the only modality, but the studies have shown that in almost every kind of circumstance, Tai Chi and Qigong practiced together always have some beneficial effects. The list goes on and on. I would say the Mayo Clinic, the Harvard Newsletter, all of these websites, you can read wonderful scientific complements to Tai Chi and Qigong. And I think World Tai Chi Day may have the biggest base for studies showing what scientific studies have been done. And there's a big interest in evidence-based practices. In other words, it's not enough to just say, I teach Tai Chi. People want to study it and see if they can duplicate it, and that's the exciting part. And just like you, Cynde, I mean, other people, I think of Dr. Dale Anderson, the psychiatrist, and particularly Sean Tucker, who is a physical therapist who has taken the time to study hunyuan Taiji, travel to China, meet Master Feng, and then continue his own study of his physical therapy. What he's found that with the Taiji, particularly the hunyuan Taiji, because it's not just a form, it includes a Qigong sequence, and it also includes some basic exercises which are designed to integrate the whole body. And he's had some wonderful success. Not only that, but he's often asked to lecture at the Barnes Hospital WashU School of Medicine to the physical therapy department. There's a lot that has been done over the thousands of years of Qigong and Tai Chi that we can access and benefit and put another arrow in the quiver, so to speak, in terms of healing. Sis Hager has done a lot to explore how these arts, which have been passed down usually from man to man patrilineally, she has made amazing, and she's the author of there's the Taiji for Seniors, which is one of the most popular videotapes available today. She did Tai Chi for Women along with Mark Dodson. And she has found ways that women can access Tai Chi and Qigong, but in their own way, not just in the way that men practice. Women have an intuitive sense, and Master Feng said that women much earlier begin to understand internal energy because their internal system. And another great teacher is Herb Perron, who teaches in St. Louis. All of these people put their clients and students' health and well-being first, and only later do you get into the higher levels. But the system of Taiji, Qigong, and physical therapy that Sean Tucker has worked on is called Therapeutic Tai Chi for Health. So, and he's been writing a number of wonderful articles for the Spirit Seeker. So that's another reason I want to get my subscription in as soon as possible.
He's fabulous. I broke my leg late January, fractured my knee, and fractured my ankle in 3 spots. And they wanted to put 10 screws and a plate in there. And I said, how much time do I have before I have to have the surgery? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I know a lot of people who do magic, as in, healing that is not traditional, but it is traditional. It's ancient. And I said, so how much? He says, you have 1 week. I said, okay, thank you. I'll see you in 1 week. So, and my regular, the guy who would fix my ankle when I broke it wasn't available. So I had this 35-year-old snip, this young man who didn't quite know what to think about Cynde Meyer. So, I walked in and he says, where's your swelling? I said, pretty much gone. I said, but I don't think we've healed the bones yet. And, I said, but they're on their way. And so we took the x-rays, and long story short, he said, at this point, if you put the metal in, it's going to make it a lot harder if we have to do a knee replacement. And I said, no, we won't have to do that. And he said, well, with this much trauma to a knee, the arthritis, I'm like, oh, no, we know things. And I said, but that's okay. So we did it the old-fashioned way, and I'm getting ready to start with Sean. I did the home therapy, all that, but he's so funny. I said, Sean, the doctors told me I can't kneel on this knee for at least a year, and that it'll take a year to heal. He goes, oh no, well, we can speed that up. So he's working with,
Sean has worked with so many people, including my own sons who are football players and martial artists. his quality of care, his ability to touch another person and reach them not just physically but spiritually, and to give that kind of calming, loving aspect. He's got 4 kids, so I guess he's used to opening the heart. And but he's a wonderful healer, and he approaches it with so much. I mean, you almost feel bad for him because, I mean, he'll get so involved in your own personal problem that he almost takes it upon himself. But, you know, he's the people have had wonderful, wonderful experiences, and I'm also a lawyer, and I've referred many cases, and everybody has come back and just been, and they just love what he does. He's a physical therapist, so he knows the body, but he uses these ancient modalities in a way that is supplement rather than detract from his own proficiency. And anybody who wants to get to know him more should read the Spirit Seeker. I think he's had an article in almost every issue.
He's fabulous. And when I was laying there in the hospital bed with, these articles would come in, he'd say, I think you're going to like this one this month. And it was, every month, it was just so relevant. And this month is Syngery. And, Sean and I actually spent a weekend together studying Qigong recently. And, I told him, I said, my first Qigong Master Teacher was in his 70s, Master Gabriel Chen.
Yeah, I knew Gabriel.
Oh,
yeah,
my gosh.
He's in Ann Arbor, Michigan, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
and,
I have some videotapes of him.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you did what?
I have some videotapes of him.
Oh, my gosh, he's wonderful. And,
I'm going to get it for you.
He was in St. Louis, the late 90s, and I studied twice with him. And what's interesting is this man had more energy than the 20 and 30-year-olds in the class. He taught Taiji out on the lawn. Before the class, it was this beautiful home in Creve Coeur, my girlfriend's home, on a lake. And but we could not even, within the first hour, we had to send the chi through a brick fireplace wall to the person on the other side. Are we going to go to the next thing? And I was just like, what? And that's what really opened my mind. I thought, we can work through casts. We can work through, and shortly, I mean, this is the way this man was paid. Very humble man. He and his wife had this clinic, and he's also the one, that taught me that, he said, the people with cancer would have come Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He'd line them up in a row in a hallway. He would give them mass chi, send chi to all of them together. And then he would come back, and if it was stomach cancer, he'd send the chi to the stomach. If it was, whatever it was, he went to the, breast or whatever. And, he then delivered the extra. And this is the way they were paid. This is just so incredibly sweet. His wife would make soup, and anyone who needed soup or tea was offered soup or tea. And the way they were paid is there was a jar, and people paid what they could afford. And if they needed help with a bus token, they would help them.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, just the kindness of the heart.
So, usually the greatest healers oftentimes are the most compassionate human beings. That's what I've seen in life. And another person that reminds me of is Sis Hager, who would often be referred patients from Barnes Hospital West. I forget the doctor's name, Dr. Suda maybe. And these were people who unfortunately had been given a very dire diagnosis, and they were amazed at what Sis was able to do in terms of prolonging life, assisting in self-healing, and actually improving the quality of life of the people who practice. I mean, Taiji Chuan has many aspects to it, and the healing aspect really oftentimes is most closely associated with someone who has an open heart. And we recently had somebody in town, I'm not going to go into it because she's well respected, but to take a weekend, it was like $1,800. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you, the people that I've loved the most have been so giving and so non-financially based.
I understand.
And I'm not criticizing because this information is important and it is valuable and it's wonderful. But all the great masters I study with, Liang Shouyu, Master Zhang, Shui Xing, Feng Shui, these people were so generous and were always drawn towards wherever they could be of effort in healing. It's become very marketable right now, and I ask your listeners to please, what I would suggest, 3 books I'd like to recommend. Hey, if you want, I've got some great resources on my website, www.stl. You want to take a wild guess what that's for? St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Taiji spelled the way the Chinese like to spell it, TAIJI.com. We have some wonderful resources there. And my teachers, Master Zhang and unfortunately Master Feng recently passed, are all 84 years old.
Wow.
And, you know, when Master Zhang comes into town, I mean, young people have to sit, they just can't keep up, but he's so exciting once you see the vitality that people gain from practicing, you know, correctly. You can't avoid not wanting to have that for yourself. I'm going to go back and see him this October, but not before I do your show, so that I can celebrate his 84th birthday. He's a great man, Master Zhang Shuixing in San Francisco. People have a chance to get out there. I recommend highly that they have take the opportunity to visit with him.
Well, and you know, Justin, getting back to Gabriel Chen. This is, I mean, you may know this already, but the University of Michigan kept hearing about this man and the success, you know, this humble man.
Yep.
You know, and they said, okay, we want to learn more about what this is. And this was, you know, I don't know, the late 90s when I studied with him. At any rate, they would not let him in the operating room, but what they did was they had him underneath the operating room, sending the chi up through the floor. And, you know, and I used to be, you know, a cardiac nurse, and some of those procedures were just, you know, you'd be on your feet for 6 and 8 hours at a whack. So, you know, I understood this totally, and I was married to a surgeon, and I knew what he went through, and I met him when he operated on my mother in 1979 with colon cancer. So, I mean, I know what surgeons go through. I've been a surgical nurse, you know, in the cardiac realm. At any rate, so you know, you're exhausted. You're standing there, your legs are in one position.
Because you're depleting your own energy.
Oh, I know.
And that's the key to chi work. You can't deplete your own chi. What you have to do is serve as an antenna for universal energy.
Yeah. So here you are in an operating room supporting people with this mask on, so your oxygenation, the whole deal. Well, at any rate, he's sending this chi up through this operating room floor, and the doctors and nurses are coming out of these long surgeries going ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. The anesthesiologist used less anesthesia, and the recovery, they tracked it, the recovery time from the operations were just way faster. So they gave him, are you ready for this? The man who got paid in the glass jar with whatever people could pay, they gave him a $5.1 million grant because they wanted to know what this was. You know,
well, that was the beginning of you know, that's what I've tried to do. I've always tried to introduce Taiji and Qigong to centers of higher learning, especially the universities, the Missouri Botanical Gardens, where people could finally get some sense of, hey, this works. Now, a book I recommend highly is by Ken Cohen, who comes to St. Louis every once in a while. What is the name of it? Oh, boy. The Way of Qigong. It's available in paperback. It's a wonderful book. But whether you're interested in Qigong from a Chinese perspective, or he's been very well respected in the scientific community because he's done some of these same experiments where they've even had copper on the floor to prevent any other kind of interference. And his book, The Way of Qigong, is a wonderful introduction to Tai Chi, and I recommend it. And if you can't find it, just look at my website on book lists. This is really good, and it'll be there for you. If I've tried to narrow this. When I started, there was hardly anything on Tai Chi and Qigong. Now there's such just such an explosion of material. You just have to wade through the garbage to find the pearls. So I've tried to include what I consider the best books on the website. So if you get a chance, STLTAIJI. So a lot of videos of my teachers, the 80-year-old teachers, a lot of resources and articles as well. So
now, you said 3 books, though. The Way of Qigong and...
The Way of Qigong. I also like, there's a book by Liang Shouyu, but this is like the encyclopedia of Qigong. It's more information than you even want. It's called Qigong Empowerment. And then there's another one on hunyuan Tai Chi. That, along with Dr. Yang, who has his doctorate, is now at Presbyterian Hospital in New York, working with doctors and studies on Tai Chi and Qigong and scientifically based evidence. His book is Taiji Chuan, The Art of Self-Nurturing, the Science of Power, and all of that is also on my website.
Oh, and that's the one you mentioned earlier,
Yep.
Art of Self-Nurturing.
Yeah. I want people to be able to get into it without having to struggle, and a good writer who has good command of their subject. The best teachers are. I often think of Sis, how easily she can take something that seems so complex and just put it. This stuff is all natural. The fact that it came through another culture creates some confusion in terms of wording and understanding. But when we get back to what we're looking at something that's our birthright. It's something that we were born with and connected with. And you can talk about it in many different ways. I'm not saying that Taiji and Qigong are the only path. It's just the path that I'm most familiar with and that I feel most confident. And it's not like I'm making any money off of it. I'm not teaching publicly. I just want the world to have the opportunity to at least know about experience and try, because you never know. It may be that people have had difficulties in their life. It may be just the thing to give a try to. I'm not claiming any miracles, although I have certainly seen my fair share. I think about Sis, who was a downhill racer and had absolutely no cartilage between her knees. And went by studying Taiji and proper body placement. I mean, she's a national champion, as our Herb Perron, who's a national champion, both in Taiji and push hands. And Sean Tucker, as a matter of fact, accompanied me to China with Tiger. And he achieved recognition in an international competition. So he's a wonderful guy, and I'm so proud of my students. I just hope that I can. I often hope that I could. How can I say it? I'm so honored to be their teacher. I hope that I can deserve that as time goes on, because they've done so much with the art. I gave them a seed, and they planted it and are giving so much fruit to others, and not doing it in a materialistic way.
Well, and I just want to read, it's one paragraph from the article "Sink Your Chi" in the September issue of Spirit Seeker.
Yeah, I need to hear that, because I didn't get that issue yet. That's why the $100 check is going out tomorrow.
Okay, but it's it's all.
But I also want you to buy Jilly a new squeaky mouse or something.
Okay, I will do that. So here's this paragraph, and this is 3/4 of the way into the article. He talks about how to sink the body, how to sink the chest, and pluck up the back. But I like this paragraph. It says, spiritually speaking, sinking is important when practicing Qigong to recharge your personal Qi, or, as Justin mentioned earlier, to transmit Qi to another. Sinking is relaxing, and relaxing is sinking. Proper sinking aligns the body for optimal Qi circulation. Sometimes I use the term grounded to explain what it feels like to sink.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful word he used, grounded.
Yeah. And then he says, by grounding or rooting into the earth, one can withstand conflict or chaos with a steady or balanced perspective.
Yes.
I have noticed that when I sink all of the body parts with alignment and relaxation, that I feel connected to that which is in me and around me, and that a lightness enters my heart and my mind.
He's an incredible individual, isn't he? I mean, you can't say those words unless you've experienced them yourself. I so often hear people parroting things, but he's speaking from the heart, and it's just so. If a teacher is good, he can make it clear, and I think that Sean has done that, and I really praise him for his efforts in writing for the Spirit Seeker, and I thank you for hosting his articles. I hope that other people will enjoy them also.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we were on Channel 5, when you did, several things.
Girl, it was Channel 2.
Was it Channel 2?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right, it was Channel 2. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
Channel 5,
we'll give credit where credit is due. That was a very nice man who came in and just just came in and checked it out.
Right, and here we are, beforehand we have this sitar, this Indian guitar.
Wasn't that wonderful? What was his name again?
Todd Mosby.
And he has a CD. Where can you get that?
Well, go to his website, toddmosby.com, and we're supporting
I want to order it off of Spirit Seeker.
Well, I'm not sure how to do that, but he's going to be in our October issue.
Okay.
He's doing a benefit to help feed children in Nepal. So, I mean, he's
God
another
bless
one who
him.
just has this big heart. But here we are on Channel 2. Thank you, Justin. And so we just pull it together, you know, like the music is played, and here is, you know, one of Justin's students, Zhardana Tiger.
Little Tiger, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I call it, her name is Tiger. Little Tiger, because I've been teaching her since she was 15.
Yeah. So here we start. Okay. Here is this beautiful, beautiful young woman with this open heart, and you know, so delighted to be there with her, you know, with her master. Get the, you know, this opportunity. We had to be there, you know, early in the morning, and so you know, you're practicing before we go on the air, and then you demonstrated that, and then the person whose show says, Tim Mazel, he says, can you do anything else? You know, blah, blah, and you go, oh, you want to change it? You didn't even say that hardly. And then all of a sudden we are into martial arts, and it's this beautiful dance of using the 5 elements, I'm assuming. I don't know what it was. It was the most beautiful thing. And, you know,
that's on the YouTube. If you type in Justin Meehan and Zhardana, Zhardana Tiger, the third Hunyuan conference, we did that, and the people were so appreciative because we did it with lightness and alacrity. And I'm going to send you that. I think you'll get a kick out of it. They loved it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But then we did Guanchi Fa, grounding the chi.
Right.
Yeah,
and everyone there, you could feel it. Here are these cameramen, camera team, you know, and it was a student who actually heard about the expo, and you know, these students, these interns that's their job, to find out what's happening that's, you know, different or whatever. And you know, they have multiple studios, so they go from one studio to the next. Then they hit our studio, right?
You could feel the energy was so strong.
They could totally feel it.
Well, it was fun. We had never met each other before, and it just fell into such comfortable, regenerative happiness. I can't tell you how much we enjoyed that. And to tell you the truth, if we hadn't have been on TV, I would have still wanted to get there and be able to play with everybody the way we did that evening. That morning. That was early in the morning.
Yeah, it was that morning. And then, you know, the interesting thing is here's this young lady, you know, who I don't think she'd ever traveled internationally, and she's entered a competition based on studying, you know, with Sifu Justin.
That's right.
And the next thing you know, she wins this trip to China. I mean, what are the chances of that?
Well, and then to go there, and when we got there, I mean, it wasn't just form. There was also a kind of a fighting, and it was very vicious. But I've been blessed with wonderful students. I don't always feel that I've deserved them as their teacher, but I've been very blessed. All of my students, in one way or another, have achieved, not that it's important, but either national or international recognition, both in Taiji form and push-ins. But what I'm most excited about is they're teaching others, and Herb Perron is another one. I mean, when I refer people to Herb Perron or Sis or Sean, I mean, they come back and say, thanks, so these people are so wonderful, and it's just made a difference in my life. And so I feel happy about that, because I don't want anything to be stuck with me. I want to send it out, send the seeds out, let them flower, and let everybody benefit. I'd only feel comfortable having had a student who I hope that every student I teach will get some benefit, but I'm most excited about, this is why I don't teach publicly as much anymore. I mostly teach privately, because I'm trying to work, I mean, so often Taiji, I separate Taiji, which I call Tai Chi, for health, which everybody can do, from Taiji Chuan, which is an ancient art, which has taken me many, 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 many years of study. And it's not for everybody, the upper levels. And, you know, even the spiritual dimensions, I don't teach to everybody. I have often, up until recently, practiced with my first hunyuan teacher, Master Feng, from China, without even going to China. I often travel and see him in my dream world, and he talks to me, and we practice together, and he gives me things to think about. He recently passed. I don't want to talk about it too much. I haven't quite gotten myself to deal with it emotionally, but part of that is because I'm still studying with him. So wherever he's in the Da Dao, the big Dao, and every once in a while he'll take a little time to allow me to enter into his realm. And just the last time I saw him, I could tell the time was short, and I didn't want to bother him at all because I could see his energy was weak. It would have been so easy to take care of him, but they didn't really diagnose it properly. In China, the air is so bad, and you can't drink the water. I didn't want to tax him, but I did find him in a moment alone when he was having a little trouble putting his coat on. And I was able to help him put his coat on.
Right. And see, this humbleness that you are sharing, I mean, this is what it's all about. This is what it's all about.
This life is like a video game. It's insane. It's just stupid. But it's not about the game. There's a spiritual dimension that is the measure and essence of everything. And if you're doing it for any other reason, money, recognition, renown, you're wasting your time because that doesn't travel with you through the different lifetimes and different spheres. To reach the one, you have to give up everything and devote yourself to the extent that you can. And if you can't do that, at least be of service to others. Give a smile, a pat on the back. The magic that comes with that is immeasurable. That's another reason I don't even want to teach anymore. I just want to. I don't even want to be a teacher. I just want to be someone, who's good for a hug every once in a while and a good word here and there. And
we never know. We never know, Justin, how
service
much
to others. I mean, no matter what wisdom tradition you're studying, service to others is one of the guaranteed paths of enlightenment. Master Martin Luther King said, "Everyone can be great. Why? Because everyone can serve." And Muhammad Ali said, "Service to others is the rent we pay for our tenancy here on this earth, on this planet."
Well, and this issue of Spirit Seeker, I forgot to mention, our cover is the Medicine Buddha. And
yeah, Tara. I received a Tara empowerment from Lama Lordru some years back, and Tara was very important.
So that's the cover, and there is an article about the 8 stupas, and what it talks about, is the mind can merge with the mind of the Lama, the teacher. I mean, and that's what you're describing.
Yes.
Your teacher is still right here with you, only a thought away, and in the dream state. It's like so many people.
I'm
once
not
they
separated from my parents. Right. I see them anytime I want. My friends is just like somebody maybe in another city. But we're still in loving harmony, and I often feel people in the spiritual can often do more for you. But Cynde, you hit it on the head. Be careful who your teacher is, because you inherit their karma. And if the teacher is very expensive, very self-important, and there's so many of these people, they're just like, they're users. All the great human beings, Mahatma Gandhi, Jesus, all of the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful human beings. Martin Luther King didn't have a dime in his pocket. Nelson Mandela, they gave beyond all giving. There's no measuring how much they gave. And these are the people we need to associate with, regardless of whether they teach Tai Chi or Qigong, to be in the presence of people who are giving as opposed to taking, caring about others as opposed to their own self. And maybe next lifetime I'll be somewhat more like that. But these are the people we need to associate with, because when you associate with them, it's real. You don't have to worry about it. It's not, the law of supply and demand, or it's what you give is what you get. What you take is what you're going to lose. Look for these wonderful people because they're there. Send a message in a bottle out to the universe and have the intention. Look around. They're everywhere, Cynde.
It is
vibrational.
You've
done such a wonderful job in introducing us to so many of these people. That's why I thank you so very much.
And my
check is
my
in
honor,
there.
my privilege. And let me tell you about Tai Chi. My first experience, it was many, many years ago, and There were only 3 students in the class, but there's this, so it was really like this private instruction. And, the teacher knew. A lot of my energy when I was younger was when I finish this,
Yep.
it was all like in the future. It wasn't so much in the past, but she had us go into Wu Chi, which is this position that all movements start from. So you get into Wu Chi, you sync your Chi, you get very grounded before you start, the movements. And so it was fascinating to me. I've never forgotten this illustration. She had all of us sync our Chi, Wu Chi, get very strong, grounded. Okay, and she pointed to the one, you think about the future. Which of course was me. She pointed to another one. You think about the past, and she said, and there's one over on the other side. And you think about this present moment, and don't let anything take you away from this present moment. You only think about future, past. She came to the person that was in Wu Chi, thinking about the past. She went to her back and she touched her with her fingertip, and she fell. Or no, she went from the front. She touched her with a little tiny fingertip, and the woman fell backwards and lost her balance.
Oh.
She came to me. She came on my back, and I'm thinking about the future. We're not talking about shoving. We're talking about a fingertip. Yes. And next thing you know, I'm falling forwards because I'm thinking about the future. Energetically, my energy was that way. Then she took the person who was in the present moment. She couldn't budge her. And she pushed. She could not budge
I'm guessing this is an alum, is it?
Actually, it was Harriet Inton.
I don't know Harriet well enough. Anna Lum is another person who's a wonderful
I've heard of Anna
teacher.
Lum. Yes.
Harriet studied from Bob Goodwin, who is a student of mine, so I should know her better, but unfortunately I don't.
Well, she's mainly a psychotherapist.
They don't call it the present for nothing. It is a present. And that's why I say it's our birthright. When you see a kid, they're not thinking in the past or the future. They've got their eyes open. As long as they're fed and dry, they're smiling and laughing.
They're happy.
And they're in the state of Wuji, a present mindful awareness. And gee whiz, you don't want to miss too many of those opportunities, because if you're stuck in the past or the future, you're never gonna realize the wonderful magic moment. This is the greatest gift in the world, the present moment, the moment when you and life and the possibilities, just life itself, what a miracle that is. And to be in the present moment and to be experiencing what it means to be a sentient as well as a spiritual. I often like that movie, The Wings of the Angel, where the angels, after a while, even though they saw how stupid human beings were and how much they suffered, they give up being an angel every once in a while because they wanted to experience love, knowing that even still they would still have to experience sadness and confusion. But there's something wonderful about being a human being, even if our time is limited, at least on the physical plane. Spiritually, I believe we'll always continue the growth, the journey towards growth and towards the one.
Right. And that's the meaningful connections. That's being present. And I like how you said that. We've read it, being present is the presence, and what was it, Eckhart Tolle, but let's go back to Ram Dass, be here now.
I love Ram Dass.
I know, I saw him.
I just saw, again, this wonderful documentary about where he was describing what he went through after he had a stroke. So much of the blah, blah, blah just went out the window. When you've had a stroke, it's just, and he was doing some of the aquatic exercises as well. But it started with a letter he wrote, and I can't even talk about it too much, to a family whose little girl went out one day to go to the playground and was unfortunately swept up by a beast who destroyed her. What words could you say to any parent? But the humanity of Ram Dass is so rich and full, and it's loud. The humor. The best guys have a great sense of humor too. They're funny.
He's fabulous.
I
had the
urge
privilege.
everybody. It's called Fierce Grace to see that video. To see that, because it traces this whole thing, but it also, some of us get so caught up in our own little games that we forget that the magnificence of life is just to get up each morning. And sometimes you get up and you've got a stroke, sometimes you've got a bad leg, or sometimes your cat's not doing well. But At the same time, there's a reason to get up each morning, and we can find it. Oftentimes, suffering is what sharpens our perception, and allows us to see things much more clearly. That's what I've found. I've always been brought back to the ground in suffering, and not that I want to make a habit of it, but
it's
an essential part of a spiritual journey.
It's the yin, the yang,
yes,
it's the positive, the negative. And, last week I interviewed Dr. Terry Gordon, who's, an amazing cardiac surgeon. And, he shared the story of his son, who was in an accident. And the next thing you know, he's a quadriplegic, and he's a heart surgeon. And there was nothing he could do. And he had two wishes. One was he wanted to meet Wayne Dyer. And he called the office and he's like, "Hello, this is Dr. Gordon. I'd like to speak to Dr. Dyer." Well, that got exactly 0, inches. But nonetheless, I told him, I said, it was really interesting. I said, 2006, I had won this trip with Hay House Publishing, all expenses paid, this cruise with Sylvia Brown and, I forget, Colin Perrin and Reed, I think. And then I broke my ankle, and that was it. It's like, in the moment I was like, okay, that's done. So I paid it forward to 2 of my friends, away they went. 2008, they had another contest, and it was to see Wayne Dyer in Maui. And
you're kidding.
Wait a minute, it gets better. And Wayne Dyer had never taught in Maui. All the years, all the books, he didn't think people would really come to Maui. So, because, it was so expensive to travel, 500-something people. Well, we had a surprise guest, Ram Dass, in his wheelchair.
Oh, my goodness.
After his stroke. And, Wayne Dyer's kind of helped take care of him and done a global, Wayne Dyer's very generous. And so here's Ram Dass. His most recent book is Be Love Now. And so he's
Wayne Dyer?
No, Ram Dass.
Ram Dass? I want to read that. What's the name of it?
Be Love Now.
I want you to start advertising so I can buy them through you, through Spirit Seeker.
I'll tell you what. Here's this man in this wheelchair, full of joy. I mean, full of joy. And, you had to, really pay attention to, because his speech has been affected, but it doesn't matter. It hasn't stopped him. And you could just feel, and there were tears, just as you were talking about your teacher who just, went to the next, part of his journey and full progression. And, and like last night when I get this text from you or email from you, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you got it. I knew you got it,
Well, I don't have time for too much division of rationality anymore. I believe that there's a spontaneous pool that we all stand in, that we are all one. And we can, we shouldn't take anything for granted, but we shouldn't be afraid to step inside the zone of intimacy that comes from the spiritual realization that all of us are really one, regardless how it seems all the time.
Well, and I just want to interject here. So this interview last week, 1 week ago tonight, he, in the book, I read, Navigating Life Storms before I interviewed this gentleman, and in it he talks about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. Well, it was 1973. I'm on vacation from, or actually 1974, and I'm on vacation in Florida with my friends, with a fellow nursing student, and we're reading Kubler-Ross's, On Death and Dying, right? Yeah. Okay, so we didn't discuss On Death and Dying, but that was in this book. So, but we talked about Wayne Dyer quite a bit. So after the show last week, I turned on the TV just to relax. Of course, there's nothing. I thought, I wonder what's on Channel 9. I turned on Channel 9. Of course, Wayne Dyer.
Was he doing the Tao Te Ching?
No, but we talked a lot about that because Dr. Terry Gordon, he writes all about that in his book, this journey. He had never kept a journal before, but when this thing happened with his son, he kept the journal. Wayne Dyer encouraged him to publish the journal.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh, he's got fascinating articles on meditation and everything else on his website. But here's the thing. So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was on my mind because I'd read the book before the interview last week. I turn on Wayne Dyer, and he says, as my dear friend Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who just passed away, says, if we shielded the mountain from the wind, we wouldn't have the beautiful etchings. And that is what life, well, it's like we don't shield ourselves from the storms. We know that, it's how we respond.
Live life fully,
that's right.
Courageously.
In this moment.
even a little bit dangerously. I mean, here we are. This is it. Let's do it. What difference does it make? At the end, you don't want a painting with just a little teeny tiny scroll in the corner. Splash the paint up there. Make your life wonderful, not just for you, but for everyone. Don't be afraid too much. We're only here for a while anyway. Let's make the most of it, and to the extent that we can, let's try to help other people make the most of it too.
Well, and as a recent Qigong teacher said, is whatever, this is Dr. Effie Chow, who is the, she was just named the Taiji Qigong, no, not Taiji, Qigong International Master of the Year last year.
Yeah, how nice. She was teaching here in St. Louis.
Columbia.
How much was she charging?
We've been making the trek, Sean Tucker included, and
wow.
So. But here's what she said, and I thought, what a wise woman. She's talking about Qigong, and she says, if you have an illness or a condition, make it your friend. Don't resist it. And I went through breast cancer a little over 6 years ago, and I knew the minute, that the diagnosis came through, I thought, interesting. And I thought, I'm 51. My grandmother died at age 51. This is my father's mother, and I was adopted when I was 6, so I didn't really get to know.
You and I are going out for dinner. That's what we're going to do. This is not going to end at 7 o'clock, that's for sure.
Well, let me tell you something. I thought, okay, I know I have more healing work to do with my father and the lineage of my father because, otherwise, and the doctor says, this is a very aggressive, rare kind of breast cancer. We don't know much about it. If you're here in 3 years, la la la, and I looked at her and I said, and she says, I'm not playing God. She says, but I kind of know who's going to make it and who's not. I said,
come on, that's horrible to say.
Seriously, she said this, but listen, I said, and she goes, you're going to make it. I said, well, you know what? I have a lot of changes to make. And, I did my acupuncture. I did my Chinese herbs. I did my meditation. I let a lot go. And I know I'm going to the next level right now in my life because I'm letting a lot more go. And, my daughter's visiting. She was in law school in Miami, but after a year of that, and she went to law school in Spain over the summer, and she just realized that was probably, even though she was in school 4 days a week, she had time front end before school that she traveled and after, and she traveled. And all of a sudden she came back a different girl, and she says, you know what, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if this is my path. And I said, well, whatever you want to do, I support you. So she's going back to Europe, and she's studying languages. She's going to Spain and Italy in total language immersion.
God bless her.
I know, but there was a point to this thread. Now it's gone. Oh, my gosh, I don't remember it. What was I?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, but the point is that you have to be present with your life. Oh, I know what it is. It's like all of a sudden, we were having dinner, and she said, Mom, you don't seem as stressed with the deadline.
Wait a minute, hold on 1 second. Hey, Shug, I'm on the radio. Hold tight, I'll call you back. I'm talking to my new best friend, Cindy. I'm still talking on the radio. You should be listening. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. So okay. So my daughter said, you don't seem as stressed with the deadlines anymore. And I said, well, I've changed. And then my 14-year-old pipes up and he says, well, yeah, but she was up all night the other night. I said, well, I couldn't sleep, so I just got up and played with the magazine. I said, but I do it differently. And the main thing that I do differently is I'm present with life. I know that's why our paths have crossed at this moment. We've heard about each other for years, but
But now, Cindy, it's like yin and yang. I'm also a martial artist. I also believe that having a little bit of martial art understanding gives a person courage, and you don't want to always surrender to every illness or tragedy. I think that people's spirit is strong. Sometimes surrender is the right and appropriate response. Sometimes standing up and just saying no and walking forward. That's why I'm not going to reach enlightenment in this path right now. I'm still the spiritual warrior.
You're still the scrapper on the playground at the Catholic
school. Civil rights law and stuff like that. So I'm always fighting somebody.
Yeah, I did. Well, you're an attorney. You're working with the justice
system.
Yeah,
but I'm not an attorney. Not like that. I work for myself. I happen to have the power of an attorney, but I try to use it for confronting the inequities and hopefully making paths where maybe there was blockage before. That's what I do.
So this is Sifu Meehan, who has studied Tai Chi and Qigong for 45 years.
Since 1967.
You're just way ahead of the game, you know,
Well,
and that's why you're Sifu, Justin Meehan.
Yeah, well, Sifu it doesn't mean master per se. Sifu means father and
I didn't know
teacher.
that. Benevolent one. Okay. So, well, you earned
What should
it.
I call you? You should be Sifu something. You should have your own title.
I'm just Cynde Meyer, and I want to mention that two of Justin's students teach Tai Chi. We've heard Sean Tucker, we've heard Tiger, but I want to give you the one teaches on Saturday morning. Sean Tucker teaches at 9 a.m. on Saturdays.
Therapeutic Tai Chi for health.
Right, and then Zhardana Tiger teaches on Monday evenings at 7 p.m.
And don't forget Herb Perron. Herb Perron is over on De Bolivar in Persia. He's a wonderful teacher. He teaches on Saturdays from noon to 2, and then Wednesday nights from like 8 to 9:30. And Sis is in Butte, Montana, or I don't know, somewhere in Montana. I'm going to see her, and we're all going out to San Francisco for our Master Zhang's birthday. So.
Wow. And, you know, Spirit Seeker is, as I said, published online. Let me explain about this radio show. It's fascinating. We have so many people who use this radio show as their spiritual nourishment. Every show I've done for the last 2 years is archived. I used to be in a traditional studio in St. Louis, and, you know, and then the station was bought out, and they, you know, did away with anything holistic or, you know, in my opinion, nurturing.
Exactly.
And when it happened, you know, I can remember, you know, I remember my son having to take me.
It catapulted you into the next level.
Well, and here's the thing: I resisted internet radio for a while, and then I realized,
this is the world.
Oh my gosh!
Everyone can be here with you all the time, anytime you want.
It is.
And we can come back. I've started downloading a lot of your past interviews. Some of them are just fascinating.
Oh, I've had access. Gene Houston.
I know. I've got them on my iPod. I'm trying to drive.
This is what people tell me. I walk in places and they're like, I listen to it at work on my iPod. You know, some people, you know, like my one friend who used to own a restaurant, and that just, you know, that just became too much, and she let it go. And now she's like creating food, getting a master's in psychology or counseling or something. And she says, I download all of your shows and I listen to them while I'm making the salads. And I just started laughing because I could just see her totally doing this. So it's all free. People are always just
I thank you so much for. I mean, you're introducing us to people, ideas, and experiences that maybe we wouldn't have had the opportunity. Thank you for all you do, Cynde. Thank you for Spirit Seeker. Thank you for this web show. Thank you for all the people you've introduced us to. Thank you for being the most selfless supporter of other people, and that's why I am interviewing you on our 15th anniversary. So stay tuned. It's going to be in-depth. We're going to get some really exciting information, and Cynde's going to tell us what she's learned from all these wonderful people and what she takes with her and is useful. And why she does this, and why she continues to do it is not for money, I'm sure of that.
Oh, no. I was working on my MBA when I turned down this path with...
No, let's not talk about money or school.
No, it's just, you know, but really and truly, you know, once I started on this path, there was no going back, and the doors just continue to open, and it's an honor and a privilege. Totally. And thank you so much for being my guest this evening.
Thank you so very kindly. You must have really been out of guests to allow me on here.
Oh,
with such distinguished people.
Simply not true. It's been an honor. And so,
well, I'll see you in 2 months. In the meantime, you and I are going to have dinner someday. We're going to continue our discussion.
Sounds wonderful.
Thank you, one and all, and thank you for all the supporters of Spirit Seekers, because all of us should be seekers of the spirituality, and we should support those institutions which encourage and enable us to continue to do this.
And next week, listeners, we are going to have a panel of different teachers in the art of yoga. It's National Yoga Month, and we also have the founder of the Harmony Festival, which is happening in mid-Missouri, and the lady who
K.T. Pearson,
Isabel.
is that it?
Actually, it's Isabel, and I cannot remember her last name. But this is a story. She'll be on next week. She'll get to tell you. But she is a lawyer from New Jersey or New York.
Another one.
Former.
Okay,
but then all of a sudden, she just totally changed her course, and she heard move the family to Missouri. Now, East Coast Missouri. Okay, here we go. So she moves to Missouri, and she uproots the whole family, and the husband goes along with it because she listens to Spirit. Very long story short, she meets this nun that Sister I think Celeste. I forget her last name. I met her at the expo. She came up to me and she said, thank you so much for doing these expos. And she said, so she called me like 2 or 3 times. I was out of town visiting with my daughter in Miami when she came back from Europe. Long story short, she says, you have to meet this lady. So I call this Izzy lady. Well, Izzy, or actually Sister Celeste tells me that she met Izzy, and Izzy said, I was told that I'm supposed to come to Missouri and that there's to be a center that people can use for workshops and healing workshops. And she says, I have no idea. She says, but this is what I keep seeing. I keep seeing that this person who lives in this house on the East Coast on the ocean with this wraparound porch.
The ocean? I grew up on the ocean. There's no ocean on the East Coast of Missouri.
No. She describes to this nun, this Sister Celeste, I think that's her name. She describes the people. She says, I've been told that whoever lives in this house is going to make the donation to make this land and retreat center possible. The sister looks at her and she says, I know who those people are. She picks up her phone. This is a true story. She calls these people and she says, I have this woman here who's describing your house to a T.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And she said she has found the land. She's found everything, and she said she just needs a benefactor. And the people on the other end of the line said, we've been waiting for her call. We knew that we wanted to do something in the name of Jesus, and we didn't know who we wanted to make the donation to. Tell her we will not only pay for the land, we will give her all the money to refurbish the outbuildings and the cabins, etc. So this is a miracle. Izzy and her family have been living on this land for a year.
I'd love to meet her.
Well, you know what? It's happening. It's going to be in Spirit Seeker, and she'll be my guest next week on the radio show. These are the kind of things that woo, 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 and it's not woo,
That's
woo, woo,
why you keep saying make a long story short, but you're incapable of doing that, and all your stories should be longer.
I'm sorry. All right, so I know we've gone over tonight. Thank you, Nate, my producer. Thank you, Justin, for being my guest.
I called him Norman by mistake.
Yeah, and thank you, listeners and supporters of all that Spirit Seeker does, because it wouldn't be possible without everyone's support. And here we are. We're all in this together.
Tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and
Thank
good night.
You, Cynde.
I will be back on the air next week at 7 o'clock Central.
Great.
Thank you so much. Good night.
Okay, bye-bye.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.